Good morning, third grade. Our targets for today are: I can identify the greater amount, lesser amount, and difference in a compare story problem, and I can solve compare story problems with a missing greater amount or a missing lesser amount using a tape diagram. Yesterday, we began learning about compare problems. You learned that in a compare problem, there are two amounts. The two amounts are both wholes. No action happens in a compare problem, and instead, the two whole amounts are compared to find the difference, how many more or how many less. Compare problems always have a greater amount. You can see here in this teddy bear example, the greater amount is 3. The greater amount is the bigger amount. It's the amount worth more. All compare problems also have a lesser amount. In this teddy bear problem, the lesser amount is 2. The lesser amount is the smaller amount, or the amount that is worth less. All compare problems also have a difference. In this teddy bear problem, the difference is unknown. Remember, third grade, the difference is not an actual amount. The difference is the distance between the greater amount and the lesser amount. It is the extra that must be added to the smaller amount to equal the larger amount. When we're solving compare story problems, we'll often hear compare words, such as more than, less than, greater than, fewer than. These compare words show us that we are comparing two amounts. When we're reading a story problem and we're trying to determine which piece of information is the difference, the compare words can be very helpful. Usually in a compare problem, the compare words such as more than or less than are included in the same piece of information that is the difference. We can tell a piece of information is the difference because it will include the compare words. Today, third grade, we're going to be solving two different kinds of compare problems. In some of the problems we're going to solve today, we will not know the greater amount. In some of the problems we solve today, we will not know the lesser amount. Let's start by talking about problems with an unknown greater amount. Here you can see we have our teddy bear problem again. We clearly can see that we know the lesser amount, 2 teddy bears, but we do not know the greater amount. We also know the difference between this lesser amount and the unknown greater amount is 1. Let's go ahead and represent this problem using our tape diagram. Remember, we always represent compare problems with a tape diagram instead of a bar diagram. We do this because compare problems do not have one part and several wholes. Compare problems instead have 2 whole amounts, a greater amount and a lesser amount that we're comparing to find the difference. The tape diagram has space for the greater amount at the top, for the lesser amount and difference at the bottom. We use tape diagrams to represent compare problems. Go ahead, third grade, and let's think about this teddy bear problem. We know that the greater amount is unknown. So in the greater amount, I'll write n teddy bears. We do know the lesser amount. It's 2 teddy bears. We also know that the difference between the greater amount and the lesser amount is 1. So I'll write that as well. We can solve compare problems by adding or subtracting. When the unknown information is the greater amount, we add. Lesser amount plus difference equals the greater amount. Here you can see that to solve this problem with an unknown greater amount, I added 2 teddy bears, the lesser amount, plus 1 more teddy bear. The difference equals n, the greater amount of teddy bears. 2 plus 3 equals 1. So in this problem, n equals 1. Let's go ahead and look at another compare problem with a missing greater amount. Here you can see I have a picture of an adult and a child. Clearly, the adult is taller and the child is shorter. We do not know the height of the adult, but we do know that the child is 2 feet tall, and we know the difference between the height of the child and the height of the adult. The child is 3 feet shorter than the adult. So third grade, let's think carefully about how we could fill out our tape diagram to represent this problem. I want you to think, well, what are the two amounts? Obviously, the adult's height is one of the amounts. The other amount would be the child's height. Which one of those is the greater amount, the adult's height or the child's height? Clearly, the adult's height would be the greater amount because the adult is taller. We do not know the adult's height, so for the greater amount, I will put n feet tall, the adult's height. What would we put for the lesser amount? What is the lesser amount in this problem? You're right. The lesser amount in this problem is the height of the child. We know that the child is 2 feet tall, so for the lesser amount, I'll put 2 feet tall, the child's height. Now, third grade, let's think about the difference. What do we know about the difference in this problem? Well, we know that the difference between the child's height and the adult's height is that the child is 3 feet shorter. So for the difference, I'll put 3 feet shorter. We need to solve this problem. What equation will help us solve this problem and find the greater amount? How will I determine the greater amount in this problem? Will we add or subtract? You're right. To find the greater amount, we add the lesser amount plus the difference. What is the equation we will write to solve this problem? To solve this problem with the missing greater amount, we will write the equation 2 feet tall, the height of the child, plus 3 feet shorter, the difference between the child's height and the adult's height, equals n feet tall, the adult's height. What will n equal in this problem? Yes, n will equal 5 because 2 plus 3 equals 5. Great job solving that compare problem with a missing greater amount with me. Now, third grade, let's look at the other kind of compare problem we'll solve today. Compare problems with an unknown lesser amount. Here you can see we have our teddy bear problem yet again. This time, though, we know the greater amount, 3 teddy bears, and the difference, 1. What we do not know, the unknown information, is the lesser amount. We do not know what the lesser amount is. Let's go ahead and represent this teddy bear problem using our tape diagram. You can see that our greater amount is 3 teddy bears. Our lesser amount is an unknown number of teddy bears, n teddy bears, and our difference between the greater amount and the lesser amount is going to be 1. When we want to solve a compare problem, sometimes we add and sometimes we subtract. In a problem like this, when the unknown information is the lesser amount, we subtract. Greater amount minus difference equals the lesser amount. Because the greater amount is 3 and the difference is 1, our problem will be 3 teddy bears, the greater amount, minus 1 less teddy bear, the difference, equals n, the lesser amount of teddy bears. 3 minus 1 equals 2. So in this problem, the lesser amount, n, equals 2. Let's go ahead and look at another compare problem with a missing lesser amount. Here you can see we have a problem about trees. We have one taller tree that's 20 feet tall and a shorter tree that is an unknown number of feet tall. We do not know how tall this shorter tree is. We do know that the difference between the taller tree and the shorter tree is 5 feet. The shorter tree is 5 feet shorter. I want you to think, what is the greater amount in this problem? Of course, the greater amount in this problem is the taller tree because it has more height. It is greater. Since the taller tree is 20 feet tall, our greater amount is 20 feet tall. What is the lesser amount in this problem? The lesser amount is, of course, the height of the shorter tree. We do not know the height of the shorter tree, so we will put n feet tall for that. What will we put for the difference? What is the difference in this problem? What is the difference between the greater amount and the lesser amount? Yes, the difference between the greater amount and lesser amount is 5 feet. The shorter tree is 5 feet shorter, so our difference is 5 feet shorter. What equation will help us solve this problem and find the lesser amount? Will we add or subtract? You're right. To find the lesser amount, we'll subtract. The greater amount minus the difference will tell us the lesser amount. So what is the equation we will write to solve this problem? To solve this problem, we will write the equation 20 feet tall, the greater amount, minus 5 feet shorter, the lesser amount, equals n feet tall, 20 feet tall, the greater amount, minus 5 feet tall, the difference, equals 20 feet tall, the greater amount, minus 5 feet shorter, the difference, equals n feet tall, the lesser amount. 20 minus 5 equals 50. What will n equal in this problem? N will equal 15. The lesser amount is the height of the shorter tree is 15 feet tall. Now, third grade, we're ready to solve a story problem together. We're going to have to determine what pieces of information we know and which piece of information is missing, and then we'll have to solve. Here's the problem we're going to work on together today. Alice and Riley each bought their own bag of candy corn. When they counted them, they discovered that Alice had 11 more pieces than Riley. If Riley had 37 pieces, how many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? We're going to use our problem-solving process to solve this problem today. We'll start by reading and understanding the problem. What do we know, and what are we trying to find out? Let's read that problem again and think carefully about the two pieces of information they give us, as well as the question. Riley and Alice each bought their own bag of candy corn. When they counted them, they discovered that Alice had 11 more pieces than Riley. If Riley had 37 pieces, how many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? I can clearly see that one of the pieces of information is that Alice had 11 more pieces of candy than Riley. Now, I notice right away that that piece of information isn't telling me how much candy Alice has, it's telling me that Alice has more than Riley. The other piece of information in this story problem is that Riley has 37 pieces. Now, that piece of information is telling me an amount. It's telling me exactly how many pieces of candy corn Riley has. Riley has 37. Here's the question. How many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? Let's go ahead and think really carefully about each of these pieces of information in the question. We're going to look for key words to figure out which piece of information is the greater amount, which piece of information is the lesser amount, and which piece of information is the difference. Before we do that, third grade, let's go ahead and just think in this problem, what are the two amounts? We're not going to worry yet about which one is greater and which one is lesser. We're just going to think, what are the two amounts? Well, I can see that in this problem, we're talking about Alice and Riley each having a bag of candy corn. I can also see that we're talking about Alice having some candy corn and Riley having a different amount of candy corn, and that we're comparing the amount of candy corn the two people have. That means that one of my amounts must be Alice's candy corn and one of my amounts must be Riley's candy corn. We just have to figure out which of those is the greater amount and which of those is the lesser amount. Let's go ahead and start looking at each of our pieces of information. Our first piece of information, Alice had 11 more pieces than Riley. What key words do you see? I'm noticing in that piece of information that there are some compare words. I see the words more pieces than. More than is a compare word. It's showing that I'm comparing the amount that Alice has to the amount Riley has. I know that the piece of information that includes the comparison is usually the difference. Alice has more pieces than Riley. It's not telling me how many pieces Alice has, it's telling me the difference between Alice and Riley's pieces, that Alice has more than Riley. So I know that that piece of information is our difference. Look at the other piece of information. Riley had 37. Well, that's clearly one of the amounts, but I'm not sure if it's the greater amount or the lesser amount. Believe it or not, third grade, this other piece of information is actually going to help us figure out if Riley having 37 pieces of candy is the greater amount or lesser amount. Look back at the piece of information with the comparison. It tells us Alice had 11 more pieces than Riley. It's telling us Alice has more than Riley. If Alice has more than Riley, that means that Alice is the greater amount. If Alice is the greater amount, that means that Riley must be the lesser amount. I've just figured out that Riley having 37 pieces is the lesser amount because Alice has more than Riley. Finally, look at the question. How many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? I see that this is asking me to find how many pieces Alice has, the amount that Alice has. We've already determined that Alice is the greater amount because she has more than Riley. Remember, the comparison told us that. So I know the question is asking me to find the greater amount. Since the question is asking me to find the greater amount, I also know that the greater amount is my unknown. Okay, third grade, let's go ahead and fill out our tape diagram. It's time for step 2. We're going to plan. We're going to determine the problem type. Today we know it's compare, and we're going to organize the information into a tape diagram. I want you to think, what should we write for the label for the greater amount? What is the greater amount? You're right. Alice's candy corn is the greater amount. Alice's candy corn is the greater amount. We know that because Alice has more than Riley. Since Alice's candy corn is the greater amount, what is the lesser amount? The lesser amount is Riley's candy corn. Riley has less than Alice. Alice has more than Riley. So Alice is the greater amount and Riley is the lesser amount. Now, third grade, we need to pick the words we're going to use for the difference. Usually, third grade, when I'm labeling the difference, I like to use the compare words. So since the compare words were more pieces than, I'm going to put more than as my difference words. Now, third grade, that we figured out Alice is the greater amount and Riley's the lesser amount, and of course the difference is how many more Alice has than Riley. Now that we figured all that out, let's go ahead and add our numbers in. How many pieces of candy corn does Alice have? What number would we put in the greater amount? Oh yeah, that is the unknown because the question's asking us how many pieces of candy corn Alice had. So I'm going to put N for the greater amount because it's unknown. How many pieces of candy corn did Riley have? Riley had 37 pieces of candy corn. So my lesser amount is 37. And finally, what is our difference? How many more pieces of candy does Alice have than Riley? Oh yeah, Alice had 11 more pieces of candy according to the story problem. So I'll fill that in for my difference. Now, third grade, that we've finished filling out our bar diagram and planning our work, we can move on to step 3, choosing an operation, addition or subtraction, and solving. Here's our story problem again. We can clearly see now that we filled out our tape diagram that our greater amount, Alice's candy corn, is the information that is missing. I need you to think back, third grade. When the greater amount is missing in a compare problem, do we add or subtract? Yes, yes, yes. When the greater amount is missing, we add. The lesser amount plus the difference equals the greater amount. So to solve this problem, our equation would look like the lesser amount, 37 Riley's candy corn, plus the difference, 11 more pieces of candy than, is going to equal N, Alice's candy. The lesser amount plus the difference equals the unknown greater amount. Of course, you know, third grade, that we always write our problems vertically to solve them. So we'll go ahead and do that. 37 plus 11. On a piece of scratch paper or your whiteboard, please add 37 plus 11. What does 37 plus 11 equal? 37 plus 11 equals 48. So in this problem, N, Alice's candy corn, equals 48. The last thing we need to do as we're solving this problem, third grade, is write an answer in words. After all that hard work, I kind of forgot what the question asked. So let's quickly look back. Oh yes, the question says, how many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? How could we write that answer? Well, we could say, Alice had 48 pieces of candy corn. Third grade, you know that the final step in our problem-solving process is to look back and check. Look at your work and your answer. Ask yourself, is your answer reasonable? Let's check. Well, 37 and 11 were the numbers we used in our tape diagram. Were those the numbers from the story problem? 11 more pieces of candy? Yep. Riley had 37? Yep. We decided that because the greater amount was missing, we needed to add. That was the correct thing to do. When we added 37 plus 11, our whole was 48. 48 is larger than either of the parts, 37 or 11, so this makes sense. Finally, let's look at the answer we wrote in words. Did it restate the question? Well, the question asked, how many pieces of candy corn did Alice have? Our answer restated that by saying that Alice has 48 pieces of candy corn. Our answer is reasonable. We have finished solving this problem. Thank you for solving this compare problem with me today, third grade. I'll see you tomorrow.